How does one define perfection? On looks? Flaws? Creativity? The definition of perfection can be described in different ways by everybody, depending on whom you ask. But one company is truly the definition of perfection. Nintendo, a company full of wonders. They have produced masterpieces of games since their beginning in the video game industry and are a household name internationally. They created iconic franchises like Mario, Zelda, Kirby, Metroid, Pokemon, and a whole lot more. Now, a sequel to their most impactful game is going to be released. The Legend of Zelda, Tears of the Kingdom. The game looks stunning as it should, but the question lies, will it be as impactful and mesmerizing as the predecessor, The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild? So today, I'm going to be looking back at this magnificent game and talking to you guys about why it is Nintendo's finest piece of art yet. A one final look at the game before the release of its sequel, Tears of the Kingdom. It's a long video, so I do hope you can stick around till the end to watch, as this is the last episode in my Road to Tears of the Kingdom marathon. I will leave timestamps if you want to skip to a certain part of the video, so let's begin. Now, let's look way back to February of last year. I've had a Switch for around 2 years by then, and I've enjoyed every bit of it. But there were two games which were missing from my library, which were a must-buy for every Switch owner. Super Smash Bros. Ultimate and Breath of the Wild. Now, as you guys know, I bought Smash Ultimate in February as it was on sale in my local Asda. Yes, you heard me right, an Asda. And I streamed the game too back then. But at that same time, another sale lurked on a game which I was waiting on for quite some time, and that game was indeed Breath of the Wild. Whilst all of you on Discord and YouTube kept telling me to buy the game, secretly in between all of this, I had the game, but I never touched the game until September of last year. That reason was because I just started playing through my first 3D Zelda, Ocarina of Time 3D, and I told myself that I will only touch Breath of the Wild once I've beaten the game, which I eventually got round to in September. Everything was going smoothly. Nobody knew that I had the game. That was until... Looks like I kinda forgot about the play activity thing, huh? So I fixed that, and then in November, once the trio was a get-go, I told Chris as well. And now since the trailer for this marathon is out, all of you guys know too. And I've even purchased the DLC about 2 months ago since recording this, but I've only beaten the Champion's Ballad. It's such a fun game, and I might be crazy, but not now, but eventually and over time, I think I'm 100% it, like Koroks and all. Don't yell at me, I know that the gift is a piece of... Ah yes, the main attraction, the star of the show, the revolutionary open world of Breath of the Wild's Hyrule. If you see something in the distance, the chances are that you can go there. No longer do we have the loading zones, which you had to go through just before entering a new area in the old Hyrule. Now, you can simply just walk there without having to wait for the game to load in the area. It's the biggest rendition of Hyrule, and it most certainly, without competition, is easily the most beautiful rendition of the iconic world. There are so many regions, unique in their own ways, and they are just stunning. From the depths of the tropical Fan region to the glistening rocks of Lanayru, the vast sands of Gerudo and the chilling fields of Snow and Hebra. Perfection gleaming throughout. And there is so much to explore that I even haven't touched the surface of the world yet, as you can see with the Hero's Path mode. My personal favourite regions being Lanayru, specifically the Zora area, and Faron. Across Hyrule, you can also find 15 stables spread across the land. These stables are essentially pit stops for you when travelling on your journey, as these are found on the common routes which most players take. If you are low on health, there are beds available for Link to rest in until a certain time of day, with some beds giving Link extra temporary hearts and stamina vessels. You can also register a horse, which you befriend and can call your horse to you, if in close proximity, by whistling. And you can board horses too if you want to swap the horse you are riding currently for a different one which you've tamed before. And if you don't have a horse, don't worry, there's usually a herd nearby for you to find and tame. And for easy fast travel to the stables, there are shrines beside every single one of them. You can also find at least one side quest in every stable as well as cooking pots. Yes, cooking. Let him cook! You can channel your inner Gordon Ramsay by cooking dishes for Link to eat and heal and even gain stat boosts. Now, how do you cook first of all? Well, you can find ingredients all across Hyrule, in trees, on the ground, and in shops. You can also hunt for meat by hunting wildlife and being rewarded with various types of meat. If Link freezes the meat by leaving it on the ground in the snowy region, you will get icy meat, which gives Link heat resistance. Don't think it's safe first of all to eat frozen raw meat, let alone raw meat, but oh well. I guess I'll have to freeze a raw chicken wing to save me from getting a heat stroke this summer. And if you set the meat on fire by dropping it in the Death Mountain area, or lighting it, it will create seared meat, which allows you to recover more hearts than raw meat. And by mixing vegetables, fruits, meats, mushrooms, seafood, plants and more, you can create delicious starters, mains and desserts for Link to indulge in his travels. From basics like omelettes, skewers and steamed meats, to more extravagant meals like rice balls, pilafs, curries, risottos and more. Even sweet dishes like cakes, pies, crepes and honey delicacies can be found in this game's menu. You can also cook elixirs by combining insects and critters with monster parts, which can give Link boosts in certain areas. You can make chili elixirs, fireproof, electro, hearty, tough, spicy, mighty, hasty and energizing elixirs. Aside from the fireproof elixir, all other boost effects can also be gained from cooking certain dishes. You can increase your attack power, defense, stealth, movement speed, shock, cold and heat resistance, as well as cooking and restoring extra hearts and stamina vessels. As long as you know what food goes well together, you can make some pretty tasty meals. Or if you somehow fail cooking class in school, you can make rock hard food, which you can make by cooking rocks and wood, or dubious food, which if you mix monster parts and food together. It's so gross that even Nintendo had to censor it. Ugh. Leaving the topic of cooking, let's talk about fast travel. If for some reason you don't like walking, riding a horse or motorcycle to get to locations, you can fast travel on your map. Across Hyrule, there are 15 towers which, when activated, provide you the map of that region. Regions like Nekludar and Gerudo have multiple towers in them due to the sheer size of those areas. These massive towers loom over the land and can allow you to gaze into the distance and locate your next stop on your journey, whether it be a new shrine, a town, or just an area on the map which you haven't discovered yet. You can pinpoint locations using your Sheikah Slate, which creates a beam for you to track and go to. Travel gates, the platforms where Link stands on when fast traveling to locations, can be found on towers, shrines, the tech labs in Hateno and Akala, the divine beasts, as well as the Shrine of Resurrection, with a whopping total of 142 travel gates across Hyrule, with an extra 17 which can be accessed by purchasing the game's DLC expansion pass. Unfortunately, I won't be talking about the DLC this episode, as there's a lot to go through. But if you want to see another video of me talking about the DLC, leave a comment down below. Hyrule's population is widely diverse, with various races of people found in every nook and cranny of the world. Hateno and Kakariko are found in the Nekludar region amongst the grassy plains, and Lolin is a calming coastal village located on the coast of Faron and Nekludar. Hateno and Lurlin are inhabited by Hylians, while Kakariko is inhabited by the Sheikah. The next town is my personal favourite of them all, with no reason whatsoever. Zora's Domain. A staple in the Zelda franchise, inhabited by the fish people, the Zoras, and where the divine beast Varuta resides. Ruled by King Dorephan, home in the Zora champion Mipha, who fell in battle against Waterblight Ganon, and everybody's favourite fishman, Sidon. I could talk hours and hours on this dude, but I recommend you check out this video where I gave Sidon and other Hyrule love magnets Tinder profiles. Anyways, the land surrounding Zora's Domain is surrounded by stunning waterfalls, shimmering crystals, and pink, purple and teal shrubs all over. This colour palette really appeals to me. And what's unique about the Zora's domain is that unlike the other towns where there are smaller buildings or rooms inside the town, everything is in one big structure. The next town I visited was Goron City, which was featured in Ocarina of Time. Located in the heat of Death Mountain, Goron City is inhabited by the Gorons. Aside from the fact that I burned to death without drinking a fireproof elixir before entering the surrounding area, or that I have to wear the Flame Breaker set, it's an awesome place and home to divine beast Varudania, and the Goron champion Daruk and his descendant Yunobo. Red rocks, cannons, and minecarts are dotted all around the area. My favourite part of this area is Death Mountain. Going right up to the top of it shows you an amazing view of Hyrule, and it's the highest peak in the land too. Rito Village, a new village debuting in this game, is the next town I went to, and it's all built around a tall rock in the middle of Lake Totori, in the Tabantha region. It feels really homely here with a beautiful view of the snowy mountains ahead, and feels like a nice winter lodge. The Rito are a bird tribe and are home to the bird divine beast Varmeadow and Rito champion Rivali and his descendant Teba. While I wouldn't usually point out music now until a later section in the video, the music here is my personal favourite village theme, as it's a remix of the Dragon Roost Island theme from Wind Waker. The village also has a cute heart shape in the middle of the rock, which is used for a side quest. Another main NPC in the game, who is a Rito, is Cass, a minstrel who can be seen in some stables, as well as out in the wild and on the Wasteland Tower. He recounts the original sealing of Ganon, as well as providing riddles for the player to solve to complete shrine quests. And lastly, we have Gerudo Town, home of the camel divine beast Varnaboris and the Gerudo champion Urbosa and her descendant Riju. This town is unique as when Link first attempts to get into the town, he will immediately be denied as he is a man. Only women are allowed into Gerudo Town. So Link must go to Karakara Bazaar to get the Gerudo outfit from this guy who dresses as a girl to get in order to get into the town. And damn Link, you're looking kinda cute. Anyways, Link is also permitted to wear snow or sand boots as well as the Thunder Helm to get in. However, if Link takes any of these off, the guards will be alerted and he will immediately be kicked out. This is my favourite part about the town. And just the fact that Link can literally change clothes in front of the guards and be let in is hilarious. There's one more town which is made, yes, made, through the best side quest in the game, Tarry Town. Located in Akala, you help Hudson out in creating the whole town up from scratch. From farming wood for him to use, to make the houses, as well as finding workers and shopkeepers who have Sun at the end of their name, which is a fun thing to do, as you will get to interact with NPCs from towns who you might have never spoken to before until now. And it all ends nicely with a lovely wedding ceremony between Hudson and his newly found lover, Ronson. Cute. Shrines are a new addition in this game and not many people like it. There aren't any dungeons in the game aside from the Divine Beast and Hyrule Castle, but there are shrines. Some are longer puzzles, while some are just a quick in and out. I personally don't mind them, but the repetition of some shrines, especially the strength test ones, are a pain. And the fact that there are a total of 120 shrines to complete as well? I'm only halfway at the time of recording. Okay, on to the next section. This game's story is something which some fans did not like. I personally didn't have an issue with it. The whole story begins 10,000 years ago. A huge evil was causing havoc over Hyrule. The ancient civilization who were living back then created 4 weapons of mass destruction called Divine Beasts to help fend him off. Calamity Ganon would appear every couple of years, and Divine Beasts were there to make sure he doesn't go out of control. He'd be sealed away by a princess who has a sacred power and her appointed knight who wielded the sword that would seal the darkness. Moving on many years later, the civilization is no longer around and the divine beasts are no longer there and are considered a myth by today's people. However, there is a prophecy that the big bad Calamity Ganon is set to return and that the way to defeat him is underground. So they do some digging, literally, and uncover the once active divine beasts as well as guardians, machines who would fight autonomously. 4 champions were chosen from across the land to pilot the divine beasts: Daruk, Mipha, Urbosa, and Rivali. There's also Princess Zelda, the daughter of King Rome Bosphoramos Hyrule. He knows that Zelda has sealing powers to seal Ganon away, but she can't unlock her power for some reason. Skill issue. And then we have Link, the knight who wields the Master Sword. Soon, Calamity Ganon came back up and pulled the most big brain move which he never did all those years ago. He took control of the Guardians and Divine Beasts and turned them against the good. The champions were trapped inside the Divine Beasts and lost their lives and kills Link too. Zelda finally unlocks her sealing powers and seals Ganon in Hyrule Castle, but she can't hold it for long, right? She held it for 100 years. Coming back to Link, he would be sent to the Shrine of Resurrection, where he would take the world's longest nap of 100 years. Zelda, however, survived and faced Ganon alone. She is stuck inside Hyrule Castle holding him back, waiting for Link to return. 100 years later, Ganon's devastation across the land is still felt, and Link has awoken with the side of amnesia. He must now reclaim all the Divine Beasts back and go back to Hyrule Castle to destroy Ganon and to free Zelda to finally seal away Ganon. Yeah, that's the main gist of it. But to fill in the whole build-up of what happened to prepare for Calamity Ganon all those 100 years ago, we would find out the story by playing the game in the present day and collecting memories. Going to the key towns in the Divine Beast quests like Zora's Domain and Gerudo Town will have one memory each for the corresponding champion, but there are 12 more memories for Link to find on his own. 100 years ago, Zelda took photos on the Sheikah Slate of places, and Link must go to these places to remember events from his past. The only clues you have are by looking at the pictures or finding Pikango, a travelling painter who can be found in certain stables and towns. He will tell you the location of the memories which are nearby, so you must go to the location and remember them. Once all 12 memories have been found, one more location will be revealed by Impa. This last memory will show Link's death and Zelda unlocking her powers. Many people don't enjoy this method of uncovering the story. I'm someone who doesn't mind this. It allows me to explore Hyrule while simultaneously searching for these memories. Oh, and did I mention that all these memories are fully voice acted? Except for Link, obviously. The combat style in Breath of the Wild is one which many players admire. Let's first talk about the runes. When the player first exits the Shrine of Resurrection and activates the tower in order to get the paraglider from the old man, he must complete the 4 shrines in the Great Plateau and retrieve the treasures inside. These treasures are the runes, Link's abilities for the game. The first one which we'll talk about is Magnesis. This allows Link to become a human magnet and allows him to pick up the metallic objects and float them in the air with ease. This trick is really helpful when searching for treasures or weapons in bodies of water, as it highlights metallic objects in red filter. Magnesis can also be used to fight enemies, as you can drop metal boxes and other metallic items on them, as well as being able to solve certain core puzzles such as the Q puzzles and the ball and chain puzzles. The next rune is Cryonis. This allows Link to create pillars of ice from water to rise up, which can allow him to cross water, lift up objects, and even act as a shield from some enemy attacks too. Link can make up to 3 pillars at once. Making a 4th pillar will break the first pillar he made. Cryonis blocks can be formed and broken when required. I personally don't use this rune often, as I only use it if a shrine requires me to do so, or if I want to cross water in situations where there's no other path to use. The next rune is Stasis, which can stop time. This is my second favourite rune. Link can freeze an object in place, whether it is still or on the move. Any kinetic energy which is placed on the stasis object by hitting it with weapons or bombs will be stored and then released onto an object, which can send it flying in the direction which the arrow shows. This can easily be changed by shooting an arrow at the object in the direction which you want it to go to. And finally, the most broken rune in the game, bombs. No longer are bombs considered weapons like the previous entries in the Zelda franchise, but are a part of Link always, and can spontaneously create them. He can make spherical and cube-shaped bombs, and can only place one down each at a time, and can be detonated whenever Link pleases. Sphere bombs can roll down sloped surfaces, and are more likely to move when heavy winds come. Cube bombs, however, are more likely to stay in place and not roll around as much as its spherical counterpart. Bombs have many uses, including the basics like blowing up enemies and enemy camps, breaking cracked rocks and wooden objects. But the bombs in this game are just so much more than that of its previous appearances. You can use bombs to propel Link across tracks when in minecarts, and can be used in cannons in Death Mountain. However, the most epic and useful usage of the bombs are the glitches and tricks they can perform. Wind bombs. Surely you have seen someone do a wind bomb. This can be done by going into bullet time and placing one bomb and then another one in front of it, and then going back to blow up the first one. This gives Link so much speed in the air without using up stamina whilst he is being launched. Stamina is only used when in bullet time and once Link opens his paraglider. Ever since I've learned how to wind bomb, thanks Crazy Tender for teaching me by the way, that's just how I've been going to places most of the time. Another very useful trick which bombs have, and is another fast method of travelling, is the Bow Lift Smuggle Slide, or BLSS. It's similar to the bomb slide glitch from Mario 64, and can be done with any other item which Link can pick up over his head like a rock or ice cube. I'm still trying to perfect mine, as I can't quite get the speed and steering right yet, but I have managed to activate it. There are still 3 more runes however, one of which I'll talk later in a bit, and another one I'll probably have to save for another video, as I don't have time to talk about the DLC, as this rune is the Master Cycle 0. But for the next rune, let's travel to Hateno Ancient Tech Lab. The Camera Rune. This rune is exactly what it said on the box. A camera. Link can take pictures of things around him, and if the camera can detect an item or enemy or creature, it will be added to the Hyrule Compendium, a collection of things across Hyrule, and Link can also track photos from the compendium using the KOHGA sensor. This is really helpful in finding treasure chests, or items for a side quest, or even to track Guardian whereabouts. The last rune is Amiibo. Scanning Amiibos allow you to get in-game rewards like rupees, weapons, and food, with some Amiibos giving Link exclusive outfits, and weapons like the Fierce Deity Sword from Majora's Mask and the Divine Beast Helms. The usual spin attack and parries from previous entries return, but let's focus on the new additions, with the first being the critical hit, which deals double damage. This can be achieved by hitting an enemy's critical point, which is usually the head for most enemies and the eye for guardians and blights, the item an enemy, or breaking an item on an enemy. Yes, that's right, item durability is something which exists in the game, which has divided fans. I personally am a fan who agrees and supports the existence of this in the game. While yes, you might be fighting an enemy and the only weapon you have breaks and you don't have any arrows to use your bow, you would need to run or use your bomb runes, so there is a method of combat available for the player to use. Bombs are ready from the get-go. You can use a combination of Stasis Plus and bombs on enemies, or if a metal object is nearby, you can constantly slam an enemy's head with Magnesis. Another reason why I think that it is good that weapon durability exists is that most likely, the player would only use the one powerful weapon they own if durability didn't exist. Weapons like the Royal Guard set, Savage Dynal equipment, and the Hylian shield can make the game a cakewalk for the player. Having an item break can allow you to think of a new strategy on how to overcome the situation that you're in. Sneak striking is another combat technique, which can be performed by sneaking up on enemies from behind or when they are sleeping, which deals 8 times damage on the enemy. There's also the Flurry Rush, which can be done by executing a perfect dodge. The window for this is tight, but the reward is great, as you go in slow motion and can get a lot of hits in on an enemy. Bullet time is another combat technique, which Link can enter by pulling out his bow whilst in the air in slow motion and can shoot stuff. Overall, the combat in this game is truly unique, and I hope that some of these return in Tears of the Kingdom, and I can't wait to see if it improves as well. There are many stages to the Divine Beast quest. First of all is travelling to the champions' hometowns, being Zora's Domain, Goron City, Rito Village, and Gerudo Town. Every beast quest has its own order of events, from meeting the champion descendants who will help you in the quest, like Sidon and Yunobo, to whatever side mission you need to do to progress, like the Yiga clan hideout or the flight range. And then of course the battles with the divine beasts themselves, then entering them and defeating the blights inside to gain the champion abilities. All of the divine beasts have a similar theme, with the colours all the same inside, and we must get the map first to control the beasts, to then activate the terminals inside them to finally beat the blight inside. It's like a giant shrine basically. Once we defeat the blight within, we get a heart container, and we finally free the divine beast, but also the spirit of the deceased champion. And as a gift, we get the champion's abilities, which help a lot in the game. Mipha gives us Mipha's Grace, which protects us from death, and she revives us as well as giving us 5 extra temporary hearts. It can only be used once, and then it takes 24 minutes to recharge. Daruk gives us Daruk's protection, which creates a red crystal shield around us, which protects us from any incoming attacks, and can deflect guardian beams. It can be used 3 times until it needs 18 minutes to recharge. Rivali gives us the best ability in the game, Rivali's Gale. This allows Link to create an updraft of his own so he can glide upwards. This saves so much time in climbing and is easily the best and most useful ability in the game. It can be used 3 times until it needs to be recharged for 6 minutes. And lastly we have Urbosa, with Urbosa's Fury. By charging a spin attack, it sends electric shockwaves onto enemies nearby, dealing a lot of damage. This can be used 3 times before needing 12 minutes to recharge. Once the beasts are free and we have our abilities, we can head to the village leaders and they will hand us the champions' weapons. Mipha's Light Scale Trident, Daruk's Boulder Breaker, Rivali's Great Eagle Bow, and Urbosa's Daybreaker and Scimitar of the Seven. And what's good about these is that these weapons are repairable. If you break or lose them, you can give them to Dento, Rohan, Hearth, and Bularia in exchange for materials to get them back. I love doing the Divine Beast quest, and if I could, I would do it all over again, just to get that feeling again. We'll work our way up on this topic from enemies to mid-bosses to bosses, then the final boss. So, talking about enemies, they go up in skill as you progress through the game. When you first start off in the game, you will only encounter red and blue bokoblin with 13 and 72 HP respectively. But then slowly as you progress, you will start to encounter black ones with 240 HP until later on, you will reach silver bokoblins with 720 HP. And if you are really crazy and are playing master mode, gold ones appear too and are exclusive to this mode with 1080 health. That's the same amount of health as a silver moblin. This coloured HP system only applies to bokoblins, moblins and Lizalfos, as well as Lionels, with again the gold variant being exclusive to master mode, being the most difficult enemy in the game with 7,500 health points. The enemies in this game are not to be messed with at all, as they do hurt a lot. A new enemy type also debuts in this game, being the Deadly Guardians. The first guardian you encounter will be in the Eastern Abbey in the Great Plateau, being the Decayed Guardian. Then you have the ones that are exclusive to the shrines, being the Guardian Scouts. These guys aren't too hard except for the Guardian Scout 3 and 4, as they have a lot of health and are a pain to fight. Even the weapons they drop are goated. The Ancient Battle Axe ++. I'm still yet to beat a 4, so hopefully it'll happen eventually. Then we have the Guardian Turrets, which are only found in Hyrule Castle and in the Trial of the Sword and Final Trial DLC. These are basically just Decayed Guardians with a bit more health. Next are the Guardian Skywatchers, and only recently did I discover that these are just the turret variants, but they can fly. And finally, the scariest of them all, the Guardian Stalkers. As soon as you hear that music, your life is about to end. Though once you've got the hang of parrying laser beams, Guardians aren't as much of a threat than you think. The first time you encounter one and hear that music, oh yes, of course, they are scary. But after a while, you don't really care. At least, I don't. What's good about this game is that it just keeps on giving the player something to do. If they somehow manage to kill almost every enemy in the game needs something to do about it. Hence, blood moons are created. Striking at midnight, this happens when Calamity Ganon's powers is at its strongest, and he escapes from Zelda's control in Hyrule Castle. Enemies and mid-bosses whom Link has defeated before rise up again, and the sky turns blood red. I kid you not, this was the first time I got jump scared in a game. I was on my way to Kakariko village, and all of a sudden the sky started turning red and there was ominous music, and I was panicking as to what was going to happen next. Next up, let's talk about the mid-bosses. There are 3 types of mid-bosses in the game, being the Taluses, the Hinoxes, and the Moldugas. The Taluses come in different variants, with the main ones being the normal ones, the Igneo Taluses, and the Frost Taluses. Camouflaging themselves as just a rock, they will start to rise and fight you. They have a weak rock core either on their back or on top of their head. When defeated, you can collect a lot of stone and even some rare ones. The Igneo and Frost Talus cannot be touched at all. In order to climb onto them, you must strike them with an opposite elemental weapon, like a fire-related weapon or arrow on the Frost Talus, and an ice one on the Igneo. Then you can go and begin to break the ore deposit. The Hinoxes are giant cyclopses, and come in 3 colours, red, blue and black. They're quite easy to defeat as you can just shoot them in their eye, and then it's easy from there. There's also a stall version of them called a Stalnox. And lastly are the Moldugas. There are only 4 of them and are located in the giant Gerudo Desert. They're also quite easy to defeat, as all you need to do is get on some high ground, chuck a bomb on the ground, wait for them to notice, let them jump out, blow up the bomb, smack the stomach whilst they're on their side, run back to the high ground before they get upright, because their tail slap hurts, and then just repeat. Not too hard. And if you defeat every single Stone Talus, Hinox, and Molduga in the game, you will be awarded with Kilton medals by the weird Hylian monster fanatic Kilton, who runs the shop Fang and Bone. He travels only at night and sells monster related items. He doesn't work in rupees, but in Mon, his exclusive currency. You can exchange monster parts for Mon to spend in this shop, which include enemy masks, the dark armor set, the monster bridle and saddle, and monster extract, which can be used to make monster related foods. And finally, the actual bosses themselves. Some are easy, some are somewhat difficult, and then there's starting off, we have Master KOHGA, the easiest boss in the game. He's the boss of the Yiga clan hideout, and he's a baby essentially. Just hit an arrow in his face when the ball is above his head, rinse and repeat. Next up are the Blights. These guys are quite tough. There are 4 Blights in total, being Water Blight, Fire Blight, Wind Blight, and Thunder Blight. Water Blight attacks involve a spear with a very long reach, which he pokes you with and chucks at you, as well as launching Cryonis blocks at you, which can be destroyed or sent back to him with stasis. He is the easiest of the Blights. The next easiest would be Wind Blight. His attacks would involve spawning tornadoes at you, teleporting around the arena while shooting fast shots at you, and in the second phase, he will spawn these objects in the air, which will charge electricity at each other and then onto Link. The second hardest Blight is Fire Blight. He can throw tiny fireballs which hurt a bit and slash you with his sword. And that's first phase. Second phase, he enters the flaming ball of fire, and his sword is flaming hot too now. When he is in the ball, a strong gust of wind pulls everything around him inside. You can throw a bomb and detonate it once it's inside the ball to deal damage. The only reason I find him slightly difficult is because of the fire attacks he has. And the final Blight, probably the hardest boss in the game, THUNDERBLIGHT GANON. Just from the name alone knows you can take multiple tries to defeat him. I mean, he has electric attacks. He is super quick, so timing the flurry rushes are tough. He throws electric orbs at you, and that's just first phase. Second phase is the most difficult part. He'll get high up in the arena and send down metallic pillars, and in case you haven't figured out yet, metal plus zappy no good for our boy Linky. So you have to use magnesis on the pillars, pull up next to THUNDERBLIGHT so it zaps him down, and then you can attack him. Then finally he repeats the first phase, but now his sword is zappy too, so it hurts and he is much more aggressive this time with the orbs. And then, after all of that, he is dead. The first time I fought him it took me 3 days, but when I refought him in the DLC, it took me like 3 tries. Strange, I know. The final boss is Calamity Ganon, and his attacks are a combination of all the Blights combined, as well as some of his own. The creepy spider dude wields a Water Blight spear, Wind Blight's tornadoes and rapid fire, Fire Blight's flaming hot sword and fire orb, and Thunder Blight's metallic pillar. If you have successfully defeated all the Blights before reaching the Sanctum, Ganon's health will deplete by 50%. If not, whichever Blights you did not fight will be fought at the Sanctum. And the final boss is Dark Beast Ganon. Now, I'm not that much of a fan of this fight. While I do enjoy using the light bow to shoot the targets, shooting on the horseback isn't the best and I find it quite finicky. There is also Monk Maz KOHGA, who's another hard boss, but I won't be talking about the DLC in this video. Oh, how could I almost forget? FIREBLIGHT. The music is something which fans say is one of the biggest downsides, but for me, it's really not. The field themes are meant to be there for ambience and not the main attraction. And even if we are to listen to music on its own, it's still beautiful. My personal favourite ambient theme is the Highlands. Boss themes go hard, like Varna Boris, and the Molduga theme. There's so many great songs in this game that go under people's radar. Hateno Village, Gerudo Town, the Blight Ganon themes, Sidon's theme, the music that plays when you're riding a horse, Kakariko Village, the Varmuta battle, Zora's Domain, and of course the main theme, and the Switch presentation theme. And yes, the Parasol minigame theme. You know, the one which almost every YouTuber uses. highly recommend you check out the soundtrack out. Is it the best Zelda soundtrack? Well, I think that, what on earth are you doing, dude? You can't say that yet. You gotta wait for the video where you rank the Zelda OSTs, remember? Oh, alright, my bad, bro. So, overall, Breath of the Wild is an evolutionary game. It runs on player choice. We pick our own paths. We pick what order we want to do things. We can go wherever we please. Without a doubt, this game gets a 10 out of 10. There is absolutely no way this can get lower than that. My favorite game of all time. Yep, better than the 3D Marios. Is Tears of the Kingdom better than this? I don't know, I guess we're gonna have to wait and see. Thank you so much everybody for watching this marathon of videos. If you haven't seen all the videos in the series yet, there'll be a link at the end of the video and in the description. The channel has blown up a lot since I've started this marathon, and I'm happy about it. I want to give a huge shout out to Thomas from the Switch Top and NintenDro for collabing with me on the predictions video, which is now my most viewed video, which isn't a meme, on the channel. Collabing with my idol is something I never thought that would be possible. Thank you to the NintendRo for always supporting me and collaborating too. You guys help out so much, and the intro crazy? Epic. And of course my brother for doing these amazing thumbnails. The Tinder thumbnail? Easily the best you've done. It's the first time that he envisioned a thumbnail and it came out just like how he wanted it to. 7 episodes. Wow, that is crazy. I think I'm going to go on my break now to play Tears of the Kingdom now, and it looks like I'll be stuck doing that for quite a while. I will post of course in June, as it is the channel anniversary. Don't forget that the Breath of the Wild photo competition is still running until the end of the month. Winner will be announced in the anniversary video. But until the next video, thank you. Let the credits roll.